5-star reads. They're the books that every reader chases, but they're pretty hard to come by. You want a book that makes you laugh, cry, gasp, or sometimes even want to throw the book across the room. And once you finish the book, you want to be left saying,
this book was incredible.
So in today's video, we're going to see how long it takes me. Come along on my journey to find a 5-star read.
Hey guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you guys are here. For today's video, as you can tell by the title, I am going to be reading books until I find a 5-star read. This could take a very long time, or who knows, it could take a very short time. Before we get into the books that I read in this video and we find my 5-star read, I want to bring you guys up to speed with just a few things. Number one, if you want to know about all of my 5-star reads up until this point in time, I just uploaded a video on all of my 5-star reads, and then obviously it'll be all the ones in this video and then the book that I read at the very end of the video, so then you can know what all my 5-star reads are. And number two, my last 5-star read was Akawar, which is the third book in the Akatar series. I have it right here. Number three, I am very picky when it comes to 5 stars, so if this video is around 30 minutes long, that means that we found it in a good amount of time. But I would not be surprised if this video is really long. I guess I'll find out after I edit and after I read all the books that I have to read to get to the 5-star. And speaking of 5 stars, obviously I do have a few qualifications that make a book a 5-star. And they don't have to have all of these qualities, but they definitely do have to have like a strong sway towards one of them. Number one, while reading, I felt super connected to the characters. Number two, I had super strong visceral feelings towards it, kicking my feet, giggling, laughing, gasping, crying, all those sorts of things. And number three, I just can absolutely not stop thinking about this book. So now that you're up to speed, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into my first book. Right now I am currently tandem reading 2 books. So I'm reading a romance and a fantasy. The romance that I'm reading right now is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, and I feel like I'm enjoying this so far. This book is about a woman named Alexis, and she's a doctor and she lives in this beautiful city, and she ends up meeting this guy named Daniel who's from like a super small town, and they're both needed in their respective places, and they're trying to figure out if they can make their relationship work against all odds, because there's so many things that are like totally against them being in an actual relationship. This is my first Abby Jimenez book, and I feel like I'm definitely going to want to read more of hers. I actually have Yours Truly right here, which is the second book in this little interconnected standalone series, and I've heard that book is like incredible, so I'm very excited to get to that one too, especially because I am enjoying this one so much. I'm currently on page 326, and I think there's only like 370 something pages, and like I said, I am like tandem reading right now, so I'll talk about the fantasy that I'm reading later because I have a lot more pages left in that one, but I figured I would just go ahead and put this one in here since I am currently reading it right now. So let's just go ahead, finish up this book, and see if it's a 5-star. I genuinely don't think it is, if I'm being honest, but who knows, maybe the ending will surprise me. Okay, it is the next day. Last night I officially finished Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, and like I already said, I really didn't think this was gonna be a 5-star. I honestly think I'm gonna rate this one like a 3.75, and it's not that I didn't like our main character Alexis, I just didn't really feel like I could relate to her too much. So maybe if like I felt like I could relate to her more, maybe I'd like it a little bit more. I did really like Daniel, however, and I liked how they were different, and it was like a whole opposites attract thing, and again the small town part just really added to it, and I love whenever there's like found family in a small town. But even though I did enjoy it, it is not a 5-star read. The other book that I was talking about tandem reading with this one was Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I am currently on page 188, and this has been so slow for me. I know so many people say that this series is like a 5-star series for them, and they absolutely love it, and I've heard a few people say that it's like slow getting into, but I didn't think the first 200 pages would be that slow. I'm honestly like really close to DNFing this. Maybe not forever, maybe just for the time being. I just don't know if I'm in the mood for this. Maybe that's why it's not working for me, because I do know that so many people love this book, especially people with like similar tastes to me, so I do want to give it a chance. It's just really hard whenever I'm not really feeling as into it. I'm definitely more into it though than I was at the very beginning, but I don't know, I just kind of feel like stupid. That's the best way I can explain it. Like, this is probably the stupidest I've ever felt in a book yet. I don't know if it's just because I haven't read Shadow and Bone first. Maybe that's why, but I also feel like that's not what's confusing me. I don't even know why I'm confused. I think I just need to like sit down and read it for like a few hours and just like binge it so I can fully get invested in the story, because I feel like I've been reading it here and there, and I was also reading another book at the same time, which depending on the books is hard or easy to do. Six of Crows is basically about 6, not really criminals, some of them are criminals, but 6 people who just have like these special gifts, and their form of government hired them to do a job that the government couldn't do, because then like the government would be in trouble, I guess. And yeah, that's really all. I don't really feel like any connection to the characters or anything like that either. And there's been like a few times where I feel like I'm finally getting into it, but then like it just like stops. Like I just stop feeling like that. So I think I'm gonna go to Starbucks. I'm going to get like a little snack, and I'm just gonna put in my headphones for an hour or two and really just try and get into this world. And I will update you to see if I can do that, or maybe we'll have a DNF on our hands. Who knows? Okay, yesterday morning I officially finished Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, and I'm pretty sure I already mentioned this, but I almost DNF'd this book. I don't know if it was just because I've been reading a lot of fantasy lately, so it took me a second to like really get into it, or just because it's like a new world, so that takes a second too. But I'm really glad I didn't, because I am so excited to read the second one now. This definitely isn't a 5-star for me, just because of kind of what happened in the beginning. I literally wrote on Goodreads, like I finally got to page 300 and things started like picking up, and I started reading a lot faster and getting super into it, couldn't put it down. I feel like the first time I felt that way in this book was around page 100, whenever we met more of the characters. But it's also really hard in a book where you have like 5 different point of views, because you're learning about each character and all the puzzle pieces connect eventually. But I feel like the only time that that really like got going, because we already knew the characters and stuff like that, was towards the end, or towards like the second half. It was just so incredibly slow in the beginning for me, but I'm definitely excited for the second one now that I know the characters and the world and stuff like that. And I definitely do think the second one might have a chance to be a 5-star read, since this one did leave off on a cliffhanger. Who knows? Maybe I'll read it in this video. Okay, before I get too into my next book, I actually finished The Dead Romantics yesterday, and I'm not gonna lie, if you watch my fall reading vlog, you'll know this too, because I actually said I really thought this was gonna be a 5-star read, but there was just something that happened at the end, and I'm not gonna say it because obviously I don't want to spoil it or anything like that, that I just feel like if it would have happened, this book would have literally been perfect, because this book just like evoked so much emotion in me. It's literally like the perfect fall book too. It sets the scene perfectly, and it does everything that a good romance book should do, and I just fell in love with the characters. I was sobbing so much throughout the entire thing, and this was just a really beautifully written book, so I'm rating this a 4.75. It was so close, but it just wasn't quite a 5-star, but I will definitely be recommending this to like any and everyone ever. Our next book, which I have already started, is going to be The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This book has been pretty popular lately. This is by the same author that wrote The Inheritance Games. I haven't read those yet, but I definitely want to get to them, and everybody's been saying this is like a young adult Criminal Minds, and it reads super fast too. I'm already on page 68, and I literally feel like I just started it, like maybe not even an hour ago. This is the first book in I think a 4-book series. There's also a novella at the end too, so I honestly really don't have high hopes for this being a 5-star. I think it'll be like a good book, but since it's the first in the series, I just don't think it'll be a 5-star, because series normally get like better and better as they go along. But I guess we'll just have to go ahead and wait and see. end up finishing The Naturals, and I'll be honest, I enjoyed this a lot more than I originally thought I would. And I'm not that scared. I was scared while I was reading it. Like, I did make Luke sleep over at my house the night that I finished it, just in case, you know. But other than that, I really did enjoy it. I think I'm between like a 3.5 and a 4. I think I'm gonna go with a 4, actually, a 4-star. And I do really want to continue the series soon. I actually did start a new book. It's on Kindle Unlimited. Let me pull it up because I don't remember what it's called. Okay, it's called The Modern Girl's Guide to Magic. Honestly, didn't really know what I was getting myself into with this one because I had no idea what it was really like gonna be about. It's more of like a witchy rom-com than it was a fantasy. I thought it was gonna be like a cute, cozy fantasy. Maybe it still kind of is because I'm not really that far in. I'm currently 33% in, so like I'm a little in there. I don't know. And I'll be honest, so far I have zero feelings towards it or the characters. It's okay. It's not really doing what I was wanting it to do, so maybe that's why maybe I'm not in the mood for it. But I honestly just don't think I like it. So yeah, that makes it kind of tough, you know. I do at least want to try to get 50% of the way through before I really decide my feelings on it. Right now though, it is not looking like it is going to be a 5-star, like, at all. But who knows, you know? Okay, it has been a hot minute since I have really updated you guys on the books that I've been reading, and I think it's just because I knew that none of them were going to be a 5-star, at least like the last one that I read, which was A Modern Girl's Guide to Magic. I read it on Kindle Unlimited. I actually have a reading vlog of me reading it, and I'll be honest, I just did not get it. I don't know if I wasn't in the mood for it or if I just like simply didn't enjoy the book, but definitely not a 5-star. I think I rated it a 2.5. And then the next book I really thought had the probability of being a 5-star, but I read it with my book club and we literally read it in like 2 sittings. And for my book club, we kind of like read everything together. We don't really read a lot apart. It's just like more fun that way to do like reactions and stuff like that and annotate together and talk about predictions. I highly recommend if you've never done that in your book club, or if you're not a part of a book club, definitely make one, get involved. Even if nobody around you reads, just try and get people into reading, or join a group of people who do read and like make some new friends or something. We ended up reading Divine Rivals, which, as you guys know, has been everywhere as of late. And this book was very good, very lyrical, very well written, but it just wasn't a 5-star. Okay, when I was trying to explain my thoughts on this book in this video, it didn't really make any sense, but I was basically saying like why it wasn't a 5-star for me. I know it's a 5-star for a lot of people. I rated this a 4.75, which is still high and is still a very good book, and I really enjoy it. I felt connected to the characters. It was very heart-wrenching, the end. Like, Iris and Roman, I love them so much, but it just didn't give that feeling, you know, like that 5-star feeling that you should get from a 5-star book. And comparing that to other books that I've read, it just didn't give that feeling, so I could not rate it a 5-star, even though it was still a really, really good book and I enjoyed it a lot, and I am really excited for the second one. I think the second one has a lot of potential to be a 5-star because the more books you read from the same characters, the more connected you get. I mean, like, same thing with the Actor series. The more I read from those, the more I felt connected to the characters. The second book was a 5-star, and then from then on, they were 5 stars. So yeah, hopefully that's a better explanation. Currently, for a reading vlog, I am reading Maybe Once, Maybe Twice by Allison Rose Greenberg. I've never heard anything about this, and it's pretty cute so far, and I'm over halfway through. I'll be honest, I don't really think this is gonna be a 5-star because there's a trope in here that I just really don't like or vibe with, but I really like the characters. I feel really connected to our main character, Maggie, and her struggles in life, and the story itself is just very interesting. It's basically about this girl who makes 2 marriage pacts with 2 different guys, and therefore, like, the age of 35, she just had her 35th birthday, and they both come back into her life. I obviously don't know where it's gonna go or what. I don't think it'll be a 5-star though because of that trope that I just don't like that's in here. last night I started Powerless by Lauren Roberts, and I am falling in love with this book. I know that it is, I don't know, maybe not super hyped. Like, I don't think it's like Fourth Wing or Divine Rivals level, but I have heard nothing but great things about this book. If you don't know anything about this book, it's by Lauren Roberts, and she was actually on TikTok, and she has documented her entire time writing this book on TikTok. So a lot of people have been like watching her TikToks for like a really long time, and then once this came out, and I'm not really sure when, but I think it came out this year, but when it came out, everybody was like freaking out if they knew who she was and like kind of like supporting her and stuff like that. And I feel like the more people read it, obviously the more hype it gets, and I might be joining that train. This has a very high potential of being a 5-star. The book itself is kind of like a fantasy romantasy enemies to lovers. Our two main characters are Kai and Peyton, and it's dual POV. And basically in this fantasy world, there are elites and there are ordinaries. Elites have these like very special abilities, kind of like think like superheroes, like whatever force fields or telekinesis or mind reading, being a psychic, that kind of stuff. And there's like tons of different levels and tons of different things you can be, which is super cool. Like as you read, you find out all of these different abilities that everybody has, and there's also like different levels of what kind of elite you can be. And then on this side you have the ordinaries. Now ordinaries were actually thrown out of this society, so it's supposed to only be a society of elites. So anytime the king gets an inkling that there's an ordinary, Kai, his son, who is the male MC in this book, is sent to basically kill them. And then the people that were hiding the ordinary, if there were any, are also exiled from the place that they live. So like I said, Kai is sent to kill ordinaries, and Peyton is an ordinary. Do you see the whole enemies to lovers thing? Literally, like, he's supposed to kill her. And already just within the first 80 pages, like, I was kicking my feet, I was giggling. I am enjoying this book so much. I'm eating it up. As you can see, hopefully, I do have 2 tabs in there right now, and I'm using purple because I feel like it's like very cute and fitting since there's like purple flowers on the front. The 2 places I tabbed were their first meeting, and you get to see their first meeting in both of their perspectives. This is the first thing he says whenever he greets her. He says, "Do you always fall into the arms of handsome strangers, or is this a new thing for you?" And she says, "No, only the cocky ones." And then he says, "Well, maybe," and then he says, "Well, looks like I've made quite the first impression then." Guys. Also, just the writing in this book so far is just so beautiful. Like, Lauren Roberts, she's just doing a fantastic job. Like, I cannot believe this is her debut novel. Like, in this moment where they meet for the first time, but in Kai's perspective, he says her lips twitch into a slight smile, the type that makes a man's head turn just to get another glimpse of it, in the hopes it was meant for him. Oh, like, I am just like fully enjoying this book so much right now. And as you guys know from the last book I read, I was really feeling like I was in a slump, and I am so excited because I feel like this book is not only pulling me out of that slump, but I also feel like it has a incredibly high chance of being a 5-star, and that is only within the first 80-ish pages that I'm saying that, and I feel like that says something. I also didn't mention this yet, but they're about to go into a trials-like plot in this book, kind of like the Hunger Games, and both of them got like picked to be in the trials. So I'm very interested to see where that goes, and just in general how the rest of the book is going to play out. Okay guys, this book is affecting me in a way that I'm not gonna say no book has, because like there definitely has been some, but it has been a long time since I have felt this way about a book. I'm just so giddy, and I don't think I have ever annotated a book this much. I've never tabbed a book this much, and just looking at everything that I've underlined, I am just so stunned. Like, I find so many different things that underlined every single chapter, and I feel like it's mainly just the interactions between Kai and Peyton, just because their banter is just so incredibly good. I just left off on page 343, and in this book there are trials. So I think there's 3 different trials, and the night before each trial there's a ball, and the balls are just so good. Like, it's a detail that Lauren Roberts didn't need to put in here to make it into like a fantasy novel, but it just makes it so much better. I don't even know how to explain it. Kai literally just has me in a chokehold. I can't with him. The tension between these 2 characters is so good. And Kai, I feel like, reminds me a lot of some of my other favorite characters in like books and TV shows. He's reminding me a lot of Jax from the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, which you guys all know I love. Speaking of, the third book in that series comes out in literally 2 days. And the second it comes out, I'm running to Barnes & Noble, getting their like exclusive edition, and I'm going to sit down in the Barnes & Noble cafe and read it until I physically have to leave the Barnes & Noble cafe. Anyways, he also reminds me a lot of Damon Salvatore from The Vampire Diaries, which, if you know me, you know I love that show, and I've been obsessed with that show forever. I think I've literally watched that show 3 or 4 times through, and I'm actually rewatching it with Luke right now because I want him to like get it, you know? And he's actually enjoying it, which I knew he would, obviously, because it's an amazing show. But having characters that kind of like feel the same and fit into the same box in your head, like it's almost like going back to a comfort character. And I just feel such a connection to Kai. I love Kai. Like Kai might end up being one of my favorite book boyfriends of all time after I finish the rest of the series. And this is only the first book. And also just in general, I am loving Peyton. Like she might honestly be one of my favorite female fantasy main characters of all time as well, just because she is so strong. And even though she is an ordinary and she's supposed to be powerless or whatever, which is like literally why it's named Powerless. She says it a lot in the book. She's like, I feel powerless, I am powerless compared to all these elites. But even though she feels that way and she thinks that she is literally the complete opposite. She is so strong and she is so determined, and I just literally love her so much, and I feel so incredibly connected to her. I am just so happy that I'm getting all the good feels from this book, if that just makes any sense. Like it's giving me, dare I say, the 5-star feels, which in all honesty, I feel like are very rare for me. I don't have a lot of books that are 5-star, but the ones that are, they're like they're a 5-star. And one last thing that I want to mention before I get back to reading, because I am literally so excited to continue this book, is that Lauren Roberts' writing is just so well done. There's no part in the book where it gets really slow. I don't feel bored. I feel like she takes out unnecessary things that are sometimes in fantasy books, like just days where like nothing happens, or they do the same thing again, or they're just like training over and over and over again. There's none of that. It's very fast paced. I don't feel confused because it's a very simple, just the world building is very simple and easy to understand. And I just feel like everything is just very straight to the point. I simply have no words. This book was incredible. Everything from the character development to the plot twist to the pacing, just everything was so brilliantly executed. The romance in this was also incredible. Guys, like, we found it. It's a 5-star. It's a 5-star. It has been a really long time since a book has made me feel like this, and I'm just so happy. I'm so happy. Those last, like, I want to say 70-ish pages during like the last trial and everything that happened after the last trial too was just absolute insanity. I was really here for it. Let's be clear about that. But it was just so, guys, it was just so good. And this is just the first of the billionth time that I'm going to be recommending this book, telling you guys you need to read it immediately. Like, this book is like, dare I say, a 6-star read, but this book will be shoved down your throats, so just prepare for that. And it looks so pretty with the tabs. Guys, I'm just so obsessed. Please check out Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This book, again, so good. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to subscribe and comment down below if you've read this book or any of the other books in this video. I want to know your thoughts. I'm curious. All right, I think that's it. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys. Peace. We ended up eating Nope. I love this man. Love him. He's literally cracking me up so much. I love how he just surrendered.